Welcome to Eyewitness News Mornings at 10 as the world reacts to the passing of Pope Francis. Thousands of faithful locals in Rome and visitors from around the world streaming into St. Peter's Basilica this morning as we take a live look right now over Vatican City.
For anyone hearing it this morning, it was just surreal because yesterday Pope Francis appeared at the balcony for the traditional Easter Sunday Mass. In a wheelchair and appearing frail, he raised his arms toward the jubilant audience.
His voice, though, only a whisper, clearly still weak despite recently being discharged from the hospital following pneumonia infections in both of his lungs.
One of multiple health problems in recent years, but he still had the strength to call for peace around the world.
Wow. We still have extensive team coverage this morning for you. We want to begin with Eyewitness News anchor Mike Marza, looking back at Pope Francis's life and legacy.
When this soft-spoken man emerged onto the balcony at St. Peter's Basilica with a humble bow to the faithful in 2013,
Buonasera.
Few expected a pope who would so radically transform the face of the papacy, injecting a new wave of optimism into the Catholic Church. The first Latin American pope and the first Jesuit, Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He grew up in Buenos Aires, Argentina, the son of an Italian immigrant, an avid soccer fan who loved dancing the tango. An infection in his early 20s required the removal of part of his lung, which left him vulnerable to respiratory illnesses. After studying chemistry, he went to the seminary, becoming a priest when he was 32. As a cardinal in Argentina, he sold off the church mansion, cooked his own meals, and rode the subway while helping the poor. So it only seemed fitting that the new pope would take his name from St. Francis of Assisi, who dedicated his life to caring for the poor. He was the first pope who refused to wear certain traditional papal vestments, instead choosing simple white robes and black loafers. This pope carried his own bags, paid his own bills. He was the first pope not to live in the lavish papal apartment, but a modest apartment. Pope Francis brought change from the very beginning.
Before creating the world,
Dios amaba.
God loved.
Porque Dios es amor.
Because God is love.
Instead of washing the feet of fellow priests on Holy Thursday in a sacred rite that reenacts Jesus' washing of the feet of his disciples, Francis chose juvenile prisoners, women, and non-Catholics. When ordinary Catholics wrote him letters of despair, he telephoned them personally. And this pope was determined to reach out, often riding in an open-air pope-mobile, wading into the crowds, greeting children, blessing the disabled, and posing for selfies. His incredible connection captured in scenes like this. In Rio, a rock star welcome, millions flocking to Mass on Copacabana Beach. For many Catholics, the message was long overdue. Shift focus from the hot-button issues like abortion, gay marriage, and contraception toward a more inclusive church. This shift in tone, however, brought no change in doctrine. Francis called for a larger role for women in the church. At the same time, he reaffirmed church opposition to women priests. He took steps to express compassion for the LGBTQ community while holding fast to the church's strict teachings. In a stunning declaration, Pope Francis said that laws criminalizing homosexuality are, quote, unjust.
Somos todos hijos de Dios.
We are all children of God, he said, and God loves us as we are, and for the strength that each one of us has to fight for our dignity. Being homosexual is not a crime. It's not a crime. Yes, it's a sin, he went on. But first, let's distinguish sin from crime. But it is also a sin to lack charity with one another. Pope Francis would go on to permit priests to bless same-sex couples in a new papal rule, a seismic change in Vatican policy. At the Vatican, he met privately with victims of sex abuse by the clergy, but he angered many Jewish people and Israelis on his 2014 trip to the Holy Land by adding a visit to Israel's barrier wall, a gesture of solidarity with Palestinians. In 2015, Pope Francis again made history when he became the first pope to address the U.S. Congress.
I am most grateful for your invitation to address this joint session of Congress in the land of the free at the home of the brave.
Often referred to as the People's Pope, Francis will be remembered most for his disarming humility and humor, his warmth with children, his compassion for the poor and for the sick.
I would ask each of you, whatever your capacity, to care one another. Be close to one another. Respect one another. I bless each one of you from my heart.
Pope Francis was 88 years old. Mike Marza, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.